There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed. She's unhappy. Weird. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
Disney didn't just remake Snow White, they weaponized her. Rachel Ziegler, the $250 million princess who called true love stalking, demanded royalties for streaming her trauma and spat on Walt's legacy like a cursed apple core. Critics raged, parents boycotted, China laughed. And as the box office flatlined, one truth blazed brighter than the seven dwarves forge. Hollywood's woke reboots aren't fairy tales, they're funeral pyres. Was Zegler the villain, or just the fall girl for Disney's war on magic? Grab your pitchforks. This isn't a story, it's a reckoning.
I'm a narcissist. The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, right. Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Rachel Zegler aimed to quiet critics with sincerity, but her viral bedroom video ignited chaos. People still show up for me, she insisted, voice wavering between tears and defiance. It was a Molotov cocktail lobbed at Disney's legacy. Memes of her weird rant exploded online, juxtaposed with clips of the animated Snow White swooning over her prince. "I'm not backing down," she declared, condemning the film's relentless negativity. Critics pounced on her tone. Fans dissected every pause. Yet, there she sat. Snow White reborn as a warrior princess, armored in unflinching resolve. The flames only grew.
I say, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online. And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not going to be saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Rachel Ziegler's delusional demand for streaming royalties wasn't just tone deaf. It was a masterclass in Hollywood entitlement. "Pay me for every hour you watch this dress," she sneered, as if Disney owed her a cut of their vault for butchering a century-old fairy tale. Critics erupted. "She's charging us to endure her woke fan fiction?" TikTok crowned her the narcissist queen,
I'm a narcissist.
splicing her rants with Snow White's corpse spinning in its grave. Meanwhile, her girl boss, Snow White a prince-hating, leadership-obsessed snoozefest flopped harder than Disney stock. $250 million budget, a pathetic $43 million return. Her career isn't just crashing, it's a public execution. And as the dwarves' CGI corpses piled up, the real question emerged. Did Ziegler murder Snow White? Or just prove Hollywood's feminist reboots are box office cyanide?
Snow White, budget $250 million, box office $43 million. Oh, but it's only been 2 days, give it a chance. No, I'm not gonna give it a chance. I'm not even talking about that number. Because like all the flops are unsurprising at this point. Something is going on behind the scenes with almost every major animation, video game, and movie studio that they're doing this intentionally or something. I don't f***ing know. I'm not even gonna talk about this. People are like, oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and disliked person in her industry, and her industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
The $250 million disaster wasn't just a flop, it was a cultural exorcism. Critics framed the film's collapse as poetic justice, a woke fairy tale smothered by its own self-righteous sermon. Who's surprised, they jeered as YouTube essays dissected Rachel's least genuine label and Disney's agenda-driven casting. But buried beneath the schadenfreude was a darker truth Hollywood refused to admit. Audiences weren't rejecting strong female leads. They were rejecting the finger-wagging fantasy that replaced charm with chastisement. The louder the studio preached, the harder the box office flatlined. Yet in the film itself, Snow White's defiant, "Get over your entitlement," rang hollow. Not because she was wrong, but because the script felt less like empowerment and more like a middle finger to the very fans Disney claimed to uplift.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
Disney's girl boss rewrite crashed harder than the evil queen's mirror. Snow White's privileged white guy rant wasn't empowerment. It was a self-righteous tirade in a $250 million glitter coffin. Audiences gagged. Since when do princesses lecture like Twitter trolls? The flop wasn't about feminism. It was corporate hypocrisy, weaponizing wokeness while execs cashed checks. Memes crowned her woke white, a hollow icon for a studio too busy virtue signaling to notice its own fairy dust had turned to ash.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
It's just a really incredible story for, I think, young people everywhere to see themselves in.
Snow White is running for president.
I'm launching my campaign.
They have been making this film for a very long time because it's just been so scandalized. And so they had to basically put it on ice after people were firstly outraged by Rachel Zegler speaking ill about the prior film, the film that she was remaking. And it's such a weird thing for their whole pitch as feminists to be is like the best thing you can strive to be as a man. Everything will be great once we just act exactly like men. There's nothing special about being a woman. Let's just be men. It just doesn't feel like we're winning.
Owen's nuclear take cuts to the core. Disney's feminist reboot didn't just fail, it weaponized girl boss toxicity. Snow White's sword-swinging empowerment felt less like progress and more like corporate feminism's death rattle. Women don't need love, just LinkedIn hustle.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yeah. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
The $250 million box office disaster isn't just a flop, it's a verdict. Audiences rejected Disney's thinly veiled lecture masquerading as a fairy tale. The studio's magic mirror of progressive rebranding has shattered, exposing a truth they'll never admit. Forcing princesses to act like princes isn't empowerment, it's erasure. Femininity isn't a flaw to fix. Yet Disney doubled down, stripping Snow White of her heart and replacing it with a hashtag-friendly girl boss manifesto. The result? 43 million opening weekend, a poison chalice of their own brewing.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you? Oh my God. Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
I'm really upset that the biggest theme here is that it's anti-men. She called him a stalker.
The backlash snowballed from Where's the Prince to What are the Dwarves? A spiral of self-inflicted chaos. Critics like PBD lambasted Disney for gutting Snow White's love story, mocking Rachel Zegler's Who Knows, It's Hollywood, baby. Shrug about axing Prince Charming's role. You're losing a generation of loyal viewers, he fumed, branding the rewrite as anti-man propaganda. But the identity crisis didn't stop there.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
Enter Candace Owens, skewering the studio's dwarves aren't woke enough. Knee-jerk scramble that led to replacing actual little people with CGI magical creatures. Cue Peter Dinklage's scathing critique. Hire a Latina Snow White but dehumanize dwarves.
Roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me. Right. And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
A half-baked compromise that pleased no one. The result? A film so tangled in its own progressive performativity, it forgot to tell a story anyone wanted to hear.
When the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, People will wait in line to see.
The camera lingers on her half-smile, cracks in her armor glowing under the spotlight. A statue of broken marble as her metaphor? Ironic. Fans called it poetic. Critics hissed narcissism. But Rachel wasn't just selling hope. She was auditioning for martyrdom.
They spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live-action Disney remakes that they've ever had.
And, you know the saying, go woke, get broke, and Disney's going to lose money on this movie. And I believe it only made less than $1 million in China.
If Disney wants to make more woke films that tank at the box office, they are more than welcome to do that, but maybe think of an original idea.
A few lessons for Disney. Number one, stop cannibalizing all your old IP. Like, it's really bad. It's really bad business. Number two, please stop changing all of the historic plots, which actually have meaning to generations of people, to instead become generic woke story about how woman leads revolutionary uprising and she don't need no man.
Cue the montage. Empty theaters echo with the crunch of abandoned popcorn. Screens flickering Rachel's leader not lover monologue to rows of ghostly seats. Disney's stock ticker plunges like a cursed dagger, analysts spat. Even the poisoned apple had better ROI. But this wasn't just a flop. Was it a referendum on Hollywood's obsession with fixing fairy tales nobody asked to be broken? A generation raised on true love's kiss, now gagging on girl boss lectures? Or proof that audiences smell desperation that rewriting classics into bland empowerment manifestos isn't progress, it's pandering. The numbers didn't lie. They roared. And Disney's Magic Kingdom, it reeked of smoke.
I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. I would highly advise that you boycott this film, no matter how much your children love Snow White.
Owen's words hung like a guillotine. The internet split. Half applauded her truth bomb, half accused her of weaponizing mental health. But one thing united them: Snow White wasn't for kids anymore. It was a battleground.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, I don't need your business. Thanks.
A smirk, a shrug. The clip looped endlessly. TikTok's anthem of unapologetic defiance. Fans called it iconic. Parents recoiled. Disney's princess had become its rebel, flipping off tradition from a throne of box office ashes. Was Rachel Zegler a visionary? Or Hollywood's most expensive cautionary tale? The receipts were damning. $250 million burned. A prince reduced to a stalker. Dwarves erased for CGI inclusivity. Critics called it feminist empowerment. Audiences called it arrogance. Zegler's crime wasn't rewriting Snow White. It was weaponizing her, turning a symbol of hope into a sermon. Disney gambled on woke and lost. But here's the twist. The louder the backlash, the brighter Zegler's grin. Maybe she wanted the flames. Maybe this wasn't a collapse. It was a career sacrifice on the altar of progress. And as the credits roll, one truth remains. Snow White's coffin is nailed shut. But Ziegler? She's already plotting her next rebellion. After all, in Hollywood, there's no such thing as bad press, just unpaid streaming royalties.